If you're a high school student watching this with debate club, National Honor Society, or hospital volunteer hours on your application, you're about to be rejected. Not because you're not smart enough, not because your GPA isn't high enough, but because of something your guidance counselor will never tell you. See, there's a dirty secret that admissions officers only admit after a few drinks at conferences. The safe activities they told you to join, the ones that look good on paper, they're the reason 40,000 students with perfect stats get rejected every single year. My name is Muti and I learned this the hard way. 1520 SAT, near perfect GPA, and rejected from every single dream school. Then I took a gap year, cracked the code, and got into NYU with full scholarship. Same stats, completely different strategy. In the next couple of minutes, I'm going to expose the 7 activities that are killing your application right now and give you the exact framework I charged $10,000 to teach so you can fix them before it's too late. But first, I need to warn you about something. Here's what nobody tells you about how this actually works. Admissions officers at top schools read 50 to 70 applications per day. Do the math, just a couple of minutes per application. And when they see the same activities on application number 14, 27, and 43, their brain literally goes numb. Debate club, check. National Honor Society, check. Hospital volunteer, check. Math team captain, check. They've seen it 10,000 times before. And here's the brutal part nobody admits. It doesn't matter how many hours you put in. It doesn't matter how passionate you were. If it looks like everyone else's application, you become invisible. And invisible students don't get into Princeton. They don't get into Stanford. They get politely rejected with a "we had so many qualified applicants this year" email. Now, I'm going to show you the 7 activities doing this to your application right now. But here's what's really going to blow your mind. By the end of this video, I'm going to give you a framework so powerful that you could take the worst activity on your list right now and transform it into something admissions officers talk about in committee meetings. But first, let's expose what's broken. So here's the safe activity number 1. Generic club leadership. President of Spanish club, Vice President of Environmental club, Secretary of Key club. Sounds impressive, right? Wrong. Here's the test, and I want you to run this test in your head right now. If I removed your name from that club, would anything change? Would the club die? Would projects stop? Would anyone even notice? If the answer is no, admissions officers already know. See, they've seen 5,000 club presidents this year alone, and most of them ran weekly meetings and organized one big sale. That's not leadership. That's attendance with a better title. Now watch what winners do instead. So here's the generic version. President of Environmental Club. And here's the transformed version. Founded campus-wide composting initiative that diverted 2,000 pounds of waste in 6 months. Secured $3,000 in district funding. Trained 15 student volunteers, which is now adopted by 4 neighboring schools with 200 plus participants. See the difference? One is a title and the other is a transformation. And here's what's crazy. Both students probably did similar work, but only one framed it correctly. I'll show you exactly how to do that framing in a few minutes. But first, here comes the safe activity number 2. Generic volunteer work. Volunteered at local hospital for 200 hours. Food bank volunteer. Tutored elementary school students. All of this falls into this category. Look, I'm not saying volunteering is bad, but if you're doing it because colleges want to see community service, they can smell it. And more importantly, so can the 30 other applicants from your high school who volunteered at the same hospital. You all have the same line on your application. You're competing against yourselves. But here's what most students don't realize. Inside the generic hospital volunteer experience, there's probably an incredible story you never thought to track. So watch this transformation. Here's the generic version. Volunteered at food bank for 150 hours. And here's the transformed version. Identified that 40% of food bank clients were Spanish speaking with 0 bilingual resources. Created translated nutrition guides, trained 8 volunteers in basic Spanish, reduced client dropout by 60%, and system is now used at 3 regional food banks. Same food bank, same volunteer hours, completely different story. And before you think, but I didn't do anything that impressive. Yes, you did. You just never thought to measure it. In fact, in about 4 minutes, I'm going to give you the 5 questions that will help you mine these stories from activities you've already done. But we need to cover the other 5 deadly activities first because this gets worse. Okay, quick timeout. If you're watching this and you're thinking, wait, I have these exact activities on my list, don't panic because here's what I need you to understand. This video isn't about making you feel bad. It's about showing you that the difference between a rejection and a full ride scholarship is often just 2 to 3 hours of strategic reframing. That's it. Not years of new activities, not starting over, just reframing what you already have. And I'm going to give you the exact framework to do that before this video ends. But first you need to see all the 7 problems so you know what you're fixing. Let's keep going. Here's the safe activity number 3. Participation in sports without achievement. Varsity soccer 4 years, JV basketball, track and field. Everything is included in this. Here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to say. Unless you're being recruited, unless you're captain, unless you did something exceptional, sports are just ECs. And at top schools, ECs don't move the needle. Admissions officers assume you're athletic. Great, but they need to know, what did you build? What changed because you were there? Because here's what they're really asking. If we accept this student, will they just participate in things on our campus, or will they lead things on our campus? Participation doesn't answer that question. Watch how winners reframe this. So here's the generic version. Varsity soccer, 4 years. And here's the transformed version. Recognized teammate mental health struggles during COVID season. Founded peer support program connecting 40 plus athletes with counselors. Reducing season dropout rate by 35%. Program adopted by 3 other sports teams. You didn't have to be the star player. You had to be the difference maker. And here's what's interesting about this example. The student who wrote this barely played. Sat on the bench most games, but they still got into pen because they showed leadership where it actually mattered. Now, let's talk about the activity that makes admissions officers roll their eyes. So here's the safe activity number 4. Generic summer programs. I'm going to be very direct here. Admissions officers know exactly which programs are pay to play. If your parents wrote a $6,000 check and you got in, it doesn't impress anyone. Harvard's acceptance rate is 3%, whereas generic prestigious summer programs have a 40% acceptance rate. They know this. And if 200 other applicants attended the same program, you've now clustered yourself with identical competition. But here's what's crazy. The students who get into top schools from these programs aren't the ones who just attended. They're the ones who used the program to build something. Watch this. Here's the generic version. Attended Stanford Pre-Collegiate Summer Institute. And here's the transformed version. Couldn't afford prestigious STEM camps. Taught myself Python through MIT OpenCourseWare and YouTube. Built web app analyzing local air quality using public EPA data. Presented findings to City Council and led to installation of 2 new pollution monitoring stations in underserved neighborhoods. One costs $8,000 and looks like everyone else's. The other costs $0 and shows resourcefulness, initiative, and real-world impact. Which one do you think Harvard remembers? And by the way, that free resources to build something impressive strategy, I'm going to give you a specific playbook for that at the end of this video. This one's definitely going to make people mad. So safe activity number 5 is NHS. I'm going to get hate mail for this one, but NHS is one of the most overrated activities in college admissions. Not because honor societies are bad, but because NHS specifically requires maintaining a GPA. You already have to do this, some service hours, which is extremely generic, and attending meetings. Congratulations. So did 1.2 million other students this year. Now, if you're in NHS and you're panicking right now, relax. Here's what you need to understand. NHS by itself doesn't matter, but NHS plus what you did in NHS can. So here's the generic version, which is just being an NHS member. And here's the transformed version. Noticed NHS service projects had 20% participation rate, redesigned project structure to connect with students' existing interests, and launched school-wide mentorship program. Participation increased to 70%, generated 2,000 plus community service hours. And here's the transformed version. Noticed NHS service projects had 20% participation rate, redesigned project structure to connect with students' existing interests, and launched school-wide mentorship program. Participation increased to 70% and generated 2,000 plus community service hours. See how you can take something very generic and turn it into leadership. This is the key principle I want you to remember. Honorary titles don't matter. What you built inside those spaces does. Okay, 2 more activities, and these next 2 are sneaky because they sound impressive but often aren't. So here's the safe activity number 6. Generic research without output. Students write in their activity section, conducted research in Professor X's lab. Okay, and did you publish? Did you present? Did you discover something? Did you create something? Or did you just pipette solutions and clean beakers for 6 months? Because admissions officers know the difference between I worked in a lab and I produced research out. So here's the generic version. Research intern in biochemistry lab. And here's the transformed version. Worked in biochem lab studying enzyme kinetics. Identified protocol optimization, reducing experiment time by 30%. Co-authored paper and submitted it to Journal of Undergraduate Research. And presented findings at Regional Science Symposium. Here's the thing about research. If you can't point to a tangible output, a paper, a presentation, a discovery, a tool, or a method, then you're just describing a learning experience. Learning experiences are fine, but they don't differentiate you. And speaking of differentiation, activity number 7 is going to surprise you because it's the opposite problem. So safe activity number 7 is one-dimensional spike activities. This includes extremely one-dimensional activities such as all math competitions all the time, only music and nothing else, or 100% focus on coding. But now you might ask, but didn't everyone say you need a spike? Yes, but here's the counterintuitive truth that nobody explains correctly. Top schools don't want robots, they want humans. If your entire application is solving math problems, they worry, can you contribute to campus culture? Can you lead diverse teams? Can you connect across disciplines? Or will you do only math for 4 years and ignore everything else? Your spike can be math, but show how you applied math to solve a community problem. Your spike can be music, but show how you used music to create social impact. Okay, you've now seen all 7 deadly activities. And if you're thinking, Muti, my entire activity list is one of these 7 things, good, because now I'm going to give you something incredibly valuable. What I'm about to teach you is the same framework I charged $10,000 to implement with students. I'm giving it to you for free, not because I'm nice, but because I'm so confident in the execution that even if you have the formula, doing it at an elite level is still worth paying for. But you should at least have the map. You see, every great activity story has 4 parts. Part 1 is the situation. What problem existed before you got involved? Be specific, numbers, pain points, what was broken or missing. Part 2 is the action. What exactly did you do? Not the club, not the team, but you. Every tangible action you took, skills you learned to make it happen, or obstacles you overcame is included in this. Part 3 is the result. What measurably changed because of your actions? Quantify everything in this. Percentages, numbers, before and after data. Everything should be included in this. Part 4 is the ripple. What's the lasting impact? Think bigger. Who else benefited? Did it scale? Did others adopt it? Does it still exist without you? Now here's what I want you to do right now. Don't just watch this. Do this. Pick your weakest activity, the most generic one on your list, and run it through this formula. What problem existed before me? What did I specifically do? What measurably changed? And what's the lasting impact? If you can't answer all 4 questions, you have 2 options. Option A is to go back and find the data. Check old texts, emails, photos, conversations. The data probably exists, you just never thought to track it. Or option B, if there genuinely is no impact, cut that activity from your application. 10 mediocre activities are worse than 3 excellent ones. Quality over quantity wins every single time. That's it for this video. If you want personalized help auditing your activities, reframing your narrative, or building a strategy that actually works, click the first link in the description to book a strategy session. We'll review your current list, identify the weak points, and show you exactly how to transform your application from invisible to unforgettable. I'm only taking 10 more students because this work requires intensive one-on-one attention. Not because I'm trying to create false urgency, but because I physically cannot serve more than that without quality dropping. So if you're serious, don't wait. And whether you book a session or not, hit subscribe and turn on notifications because next week I'm breaking down the 3 essay mistakes that get students rejected from the Ivy League. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.